Maria, 77, whose daughter and son-in-law died under the rubble of a building destroyed by Russian shelling, cries, amid Russia's invasion of Ukraine and Borodyanka, in Kiev region, Ukraine April 8, 2022. Reuters Gladgaranich. Locals sit in front of their house in the village of Andriivka, in the Kiev region, Ukraine, April 7, 2022. Reuters Marko Urica. Lyubov Komenko reacts as she walks through her destroyed house in the village of Andriivka, in the Kiev region, Ukraine, April 7, 2022. Reuters Marko Urica. A view of a destroyed Ukrainian government administration building following shelling in Mykolaiv, Ukraine, April 8, 2022. Reuters Usle Marcelino. Nun Varvara holds a cat at the St. Michael the Archangel's Women Monastery, Sviaty Arkanhelo Mikhailovsky, where they rescue cats left behind by their owners in Odessa, Ukraine, April 7, 2022. Reuters Igor Kichenko. Petro Hlistin, 71, gestures, in front of destroyed houses in the village of Yehedny, near to Cherniv, Ukraine, April 6, 2022. Reuters Marko Urica. A man holds a boy who is wrapped in a blanket as they wait to be evacuated from the heavily shelled town of Verkhovka outside Kharkiv in Ukraine, April 6, 2022. Reuters Thomas Peter. A woman reacts in the village of Sloboda, outside Cherniv, Ukraine, April 5, 2022. Reuters Marko Urica. Ludmila Virginska, 51, who said her son was shot in the eye by Russian soldiers, attends a burial of her friend Igor Litvinenko, who according to residents was killed by Russian soldiers, after they found him beside a building's basement in Bucha, Ukraine April 5, 2022. Reuters Zora Ben Semra. Tatiana Tanya Volodymyrivna Dashkivska reacts as she recounts how her husband Vasil Ivanovich, who served in the Navy, was killed by Russian soldiers, as she stands near their residential building in Bucha, Ukraine April 3, 2022. Vasil was arrested by Russian soldiers. Tatiana looked for him for days and found him in a building's basement where two bodies were lying. She recognized him by his sneakers, his trousers. He looked mutilated, his body was cold. They turned him over a little. He had been shot in the head, mutilated, tortured, Tatiana said. Reuters Zora Ben Semra. Hannah Kliston stands amongst destroyed houses in the village of Yehedny, near to Cherniv, Ukraine, April 6, 2022. Reuters Marko Urica. A local resident sits in the basement of an apartment building during the Ukraine-Russia conflict in the southern port city of Mariupol, Ukraine April 3, 2022. Reuters Stringer. A local woman Maria reacts next to her house destroyed by heavy shelling and airstrikes in Chernihiv, Ukraine April 6, 2022. Reuters Serhiy Nuznenko. Local resident Olga holds an icon, which she takes away from her destroyed apartment in Borodyanka in Kiev region, Ukraine, April 5, 2022. Reuters Gladgaranich. A man, who says Russian soldiers broke his arm, stands outside his house in Bucha, in Kiev region, Ukraine, April 6, 2022. Reuters Alkis Konstantinidis. Serhiy Lohovsky, 26, mourns next to the grave of his friend Ihor Litvinenko, who according to residents was killed by Russian soldiers, after they found him beside a building's basement in Bucha, in Kiev region, Ukraine, April 6, 2022. Reuters Alkis Konstantinidis. A woman walks past a church that was damaged during heavy shelling in the town of Refugee outside Kharkiv in Ukraine, April 6, 2022. Reuters. Thomas Peter. Nina, 74, recounts how a Russian soldier pointed his gun at her in Borodyanka, in the Kiev region, Ukraine, April 5, 2022. Reuters. Zora Ben Semra. A woman waits to be evacuated from the heavily shelled town of Refugee outside Kharkiv in Ukraine, April 6, 2022. Reuters. Thomas Peter. A local resident stands near destroyed houses in Borodyanka in Kiev region, Ukraine, April 5, 2022. Reuters. Gleb Garanich.